Rebecca, congratulations on the film. I really loved it.
No, thank you.
Fantastic. Could you just talk to us about the sort of conception of the project and how it came to be?
Karen Rinaldi, who's a really close friend of mine, sent me a book that she hadn't yet published. And there were several chapters that were the Maggie chapters, and she said, I think this might be a good movie. I was looking for something on the lighter side to make in New York City, and it seemed like a perfect opportunity to experiment in a sort of screwball comedy genre.
Yeah, it's very different though, isn't it? And so it's not your conventional sort of romantic comedy, which is great. I actually saw it in Berlin, and I've not quite heard an audience react to a film the way they did over there. You must be pleased with the reaction.
Yeah. The reactions have been amazing, and especially the bigger the house, the better. The more people there are, the more fun people seem to be having.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're looking at a project, how do you sort of get your inspiration, both writing the screenplay and obviously at the end directing the actual thing?
Well, I'm a magpie, so I get inspiration from all sorts of places. In this case, of course, I began with Karen Rinaldi's wonderful story, but then I put in parts of my own life. A friend of mine was the model for Tony, which is Bill Hader's part. Another friend was sort of a model for Felicia, who is played by Maya Rudolph. I draw from little things that I observe in other people, things from my own life, and then, of course, the story that I'm basing it on.
Absolutely. How much detail do you go into with each character in terms of their backstory and that sort of thing? Do you just base it on people that you know and then work that into it, or just completely write a whole backstory to what they're...
Well, I tend to have to write a kind of backstory, at least in my own head. Like, for example, Maggie, who's played by Greta Gerwig, and Tony are old friends, and I thought about where did they go to college, what was their relationship, how long back do they go, what did they do between college and now. So yeah, I like to have a really strong sense of where everybody's coming from, so that I'm not using characters like puppets.
Absolutely. And part of the film is the wonderful cast you've assembled. I understand Greta was on quite early in the project.
Yes.
How did the rest sort of come on board?
Well, Julianne Moore is a dear friend of mine, and I'd made another film with her, so I just slipped the script through her letterbox, and she couldn't quite resist the scene where she says, "Are we going to die here in the snow?" And I think she really relished the idea of flexing her comic muscles, which are actually hugely strong, and not everybody knows about them. Of course, I worked with Greta for a whole year and Julianne before we started shooting. But then Ethan came on a bit later and was really, really helpful in terms of thinking about the end of the script in particular. Everybody had, great ideas. At the same time, everybody really wanted to help me make my script. So there was no ego involved. They were just great collaborators.
And Julianne's character particularly is a wonderful character. How much was that on the page, and how much was Julianne in terms of Georgette?
Well, what happened was we talked a lot about the characterization beforehand, so that it was all written, it was all on the page by the time we got there. But some of what was on the page had been at her suggestion. For example, the big auditorium scene, she really felt that she needed to be seen working, and I created that scene for her.
Excellent. You've been all around the world with this film. It's sort of played in Sundance, Berlin, Toronto. What's it like to take this film around the world for such a long period of time? It seems like
it's been an amazing journey. This is actually the end of my part of the journey, I think. It's been a beautiful thing, because I've never had a film that connected with an audience in such an obvious, visceral way. When you hear people laugh, it's a different thing than you don't hear them being moved or crying or thinking, but you can hear them laughing. And so that's been an amazing experience.
Excellent. And obviously, you say it's the end of the road for you with this film now. What's next? What's next for you?
I'm writing an original screenplay, which I hope to be shooting in about a year or so.
Excellent. Well, good luck with the film. I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Cheers. Thank you.